everybody. Just want to do a little trip planning thing here for it's common for inexperienced drivers to want to need help with recap hours or how to work with recap hours. So that's what I'm going to cover on this. I'm going to do it with my real world hours here because I'm on my way to Sparks, Nevada. As you guys who've been watching my streams already know. I'm going to show you my situation here with my hours and kind of give you an idea of what I need to cover the distance that I have left. So stay tuned here. I'm gonna pull up my spreadsheet that I use and show you how I work with that, and it'll tell me basically how many hours I need to cover the distance I have, and then show you how many hours I have available when I get recaps back and all that kind of stuff. All right. Pull up my driving file here. Okay, ETA HOS Planner is the one I worked with. Come up here. I need to figure out my miles that I need to cover first. I think it's about 5:30ish, but 5:20, 5:30. I gotta double check it though. I'm using my phone for that, or you know what? Better yet, work with it on here with you guys. Walmart, DC, and Sparks. 522 miles. So I'll just put about 525-ish. And you see the route is going to come up. Now I'm at the TA in Kingman, Arizona right now. All I have to do is go straight up US 93 from here into Las Vegas. And then take Interstate 515 up up to the 15. And then 515 will turn into US 95 right there. So, yeah, and I'll follow 95 all the way up. Okay, now that's an alternate, different way, but okay. Up here, though, as you get closer, if I were to go straight to the receiver, then yeah, I could come over here and hit alternate 95. That's an option. Over here, basically over to the Yerington area. I wouldn't necessarily follow this. I wouldn't necessarily recommend taking this route over here that Google's trying to say. It's not a. I would assume that's not a truck route. Stay on the numbered highways. Don't go off the numbered highways if you don't need to. So, me personally, I would take alternate 95 across over here to Yerington and get on to 339 right there and then head north. Now, this Perry and Son Farms is actually a possible shipper for me after I get done with this load. We do sometimes pick up loads from there, usually onions. So, anyway, that's one option. However, when I get done with it, when I get up there tomorrow night, I actually plan to stop at the Pilot or the Flying J in Fernley, which is over here to the east, and end my shift over here. Probably at the Pilot, which is right over here by Love's. The reason why, I'll get into more of that, but I'm, getting a shower and then basically getting fuel for both my tractor and the reefer unit before I go make the delivery is primarily the interest there, because there's a pretty good chance my reload will be picking up in California. Now, it will cost me a little bit more on the fuel this particular week. However, I'd rather buy my fuel in Fernley than than buy it at the Petro or TA in Sparks, where I'll pay more, or even more so in California. So it's just better. It's a better long-term play to get my fuel in Fernley. I only need about 50 gallons to cover the rest of my trip. Also, like I say, I want to be able to get a shower, and I want to make sure I have a full reefer tank before I go make my delivery. That way, when I'm done with my delivery, I already have a mostly full tank to work with, and I don't need to make a special stop for fuel if I'm doing a drop pickup on the next load. Okay, so that out of the way, we'll just say about 525 miles to cover. So I'm gonna come back over into here, do 525. Now today is the 6th. However, I'm gonna run these miles on the 7th. So I'm going to make it the 7th. Okay, I'm not too worried about the current time right at the moment because I know I'm going to be there way early. It's not due until the 9th at 1400. I'm more concerned about how many duty hours do I need to work with. Right here, 525 miles, it's saying I should plan on using about 8.75 hours. Okay, so now what do I have to actually work with? Because so I don't have to keep jumping back and forth between recordings and and showing you what my 8-day page and my summary page and all that on my Qualcomm look like. I'm just going to put the numbers in here for you. Okay, so what I have right now on my 70 is 713. Okay, I got nothing back tonight. However, we're also, remember, keep in mind here that I'm assuming that it's tomorrow, not today, as far as planning this is concerned. So all these hours down here, the 954, I'm gonna transcribe them up word by 2 days. So 954 is what I get tomorrow night. Then I get 1026, 340, 1129, 757, 832, and 1044. Now this one I'm going to put as 0 because I'll have 0 for, it's assuming it's tomorrow still. Okay, now don't mind the fact that this is not exactly at 70 hours because these are rounded to the nearest minute. My Qualcomm, the actual hours that I've used are to the second, and they always are off by usually about 4 minutes. Why, I don't know, but it works that way. Okay, so anyway, what this is telling me, I have 713 to work with, and I need about 845. So what it's telling me is I'm about an hour and a half short on what I need. So I'll need the recaps tomorrow night to be able to get there, get all the way there. That won't be a problem. Now, in fact, now the 713, I want to keep them. Also consider what time can I start driving and be able to roll into my recaps. Now, 713, over 8 hours, I need to plan in a 30-minute break there. I've been able to cover 525 miles without even needing to stop for a break. However, there are areas where I will get slowed down through towns and stuff. I will assume that I absolutely will need a 30-minute break. No ifs, ands, or buts, regardless. So, factor that in. So, if I go about maybe 8 or so hours before I get my recaps back, which is about 10 p.m., 10 p.m. Pacific time or midnight Central time because the carrier I drive for is in Central time zone. So I get my recaps back at midnight Central time. But I'm actually in Pacific time right now, both here and at and where my receiver is. So I can go by 10 o'clock. So if I count back 8 hours before 10 o'clock, that puts me at 2 p.m. or 1400 tomorrow afternoon. When I can start my shift and for the most part be able to roll into my recaps, which of course including that 30-minute break in there. So the idea there, I want to be able to get to Fernley early enough where I can do a possible 34-hour reset. Do I need the 34? No. However, I'm going to have to wait. I can get there quickly enough where I can do a 34 before I make my delivery. And as far as my reload is concerned, I'd rather have a full 70-hour clock to work with than have this assortment of recaps. The recaps are actually pretty good overall, if I must say. The 340 here is the only one that's not very good, but now mind you, I'm not going to use much of this 854 at all. 954. I might use about an hour and a half of it. And then, so out of almost 10 hours, that's, 8.5 hours I'll still have left? Or, 8 to 8.5 hours I'll still have left on my recaps after that. And then the next day, on the delivery day, I'll have almost 10.5 hours to work with. So it's almost 20 hours that I'll have to work with immediately on the load. But then now the 340 will kind of cut me short on how fast how many miles I can run per day over those, until I can get into the 11:29 recaps here. So there's a possibility that these recaps could slow me down a little bit, which also means might be a little more limited on what kind of loads are available to me because of this. Because JCT, they have their loads and they know how many miles need to be covered, and they calculate based on a certain average mile per hour, which about between about 55 miles an hour ish, in the ballpark. I think usually about 53 to 58 is what they really do. Which is actually slower than what I normally run as a whole. However, they plan it out like that, and if I only have a certain number of hours to work with, then the load might only tell me I can run a certain number of miles in a certain amount of time because of the recap situation. However, if I have a fresh 70-hour clock to work with, I can run as hard as I want to, and I don't have to sit and wait for recaps to roll in on my, so my 10-hour breaks can be literally only 10 hours long. Whereas right now, it's the 6th, and barely, I went off duty around 6:30ish or 18:30, and I can't go back on duty to roll into my recaps until about 1400 tomorrow. So I'll be sitting here for the better part of an entire day before I can even roll into my recaps. So it's not a 10-hour break. It's more like a 20-hour break, or actually even more. I think 22 or something like that before I can even go anywhere. Or no, yeah, it is about 19 to 20 hours. So that can slow me down. If I have a fresh 70-hour clock to work with when I finish my delivery, then I don't need to take 19 or 15, 16, 19, 20-hour breaks. I can do a 10-hour break and then just get moving right away. Yeah, and I don't have to wreak havoc on my sleep schedule or whatever by doing that either. And not to mention, there are no limits, so whatever loads are available, I'm not limited. My hours don't limit me from getting certain loads that I could otherwise get. So those are that's the gist of what I wanted to get at here. I'm going to talk about with these recaps. Okay, like I said, that's what I really wanted to cover there, was talking about my recaps and being strategic with my hours. So if I'm going to have to sit this much time anyway to deliver my load, I might as well get myself a fresh 70 to work with while I'm at it. Because, like I say, it'll give me more options for my reload, whatever is going to come after I'm done delivering this load. Actually, when I talked to my DM about it earlier today, because I told her that was what I was planning on doing, if no swaps came up for along the way there, which I didn't think was going to happen because of my hours. And I guess she had actually said, well, good, you just made my job a lot easier by doing that, because she was going to have to go through the load board and see what reload options were available that she could possibly send to me, or ask the planner to give me. But she would have had to check on my hours first to see if I had the hours available to cover whatever the distance and time that the load requires. So that would have been extra work on her part. But since I told her, if I have the ability to get there fast enough where I can do a 34 and end up be able to reload immediately, get moving as soon as I'm done unloading, and do so with a fresh 70-hour clock, that just made her job a whole entire lot easier. So all she had to do is put a little note in my little driver profile thing, whatever, on her side, and basically put, hey, driver will be doing a 34-hour reset before delivering, and we'll have a fresh 70 for the next load. So now the planner can see that, and they'll know that there are no limitations on what they can give me, because as long as I can get to the shipper on time, and then I can cover the miles, which obviously I can, no problems there. All right, that's all I have for now. Don't hesitate to ask me questions about recaps, because I know this is a very common area It's a bit of a learning curve for inexperienced drivers, and my page is especially about helping to educate the inexperienced drivers. So please don't hesitate to ask if you have any questions or need any help with your own hour situation or whatever. Maybe don't maybe even ask me what would I do in this or that situation. I'm all for it. Whatever. It doesn't mean that what I would do would be the right way or best way for you to go about it, but maybe I can give you some ideas that you aren't already thinking of yourself, and just a different perspective always helps. So, like I said, just uh, don't hesitate to ask me for any advice on this. All right. Thanks. Appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and hope you got some good information out of this. All right. Have a good day.